Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're going to start things at 11 o'clock. I just see a few people signing in right now. So we'll wait until then. Looking forward to starting this webinar with you folks. Hello again, everybody. We're about to begin. I'm Jeremy Baumung, outside sales with BayWa RE Canada. Continuing education is important to BayWa, so we really appreciate you attending and taking time out of your busy day to join us and Kinetic solar racking. Just a reminder that this will be recorded. You'll be able to see it on our YouTube channel, and it will also be released during our next monthly newsletter. So please sign up for our YouTube channel if you haven't already. You can find all of our past webinars there. If you have any questions during the webinar, we're going to save them for the end. So if you can jot them down or throw them into the chat box into the corner of your screen, I will make sure that we get to them. And as mentioned, continuing education is an important part of the culture here at BayWa. So we are happy to be able to extend this to our customers. And with that, I'd like to pass things on to Matthew from Kinetic. Matthew, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Jeremy, and hello, everybody. Thank you for taking the time. We're glad to have you here at Kinetic with our partners at BayWa. If everyone can see my screen.
We can.
Excellent. Well, thanks for taking the time, and we look forward to helping you with your projects. So today we're going to be talking about our Kinetic Configurator. That's to help you put together your bill of materials for your projects. And we're also going to be reviewing our products, our new products, and general updates. My name is Matthew Schaefer. I have a bachelor's degree in civil engineering. I'm the engineering project manager at Kinetic Solar, and I've been in the industry 10 years, doing everything from residential and commercial solar to grid-tied, hybrid, off-grid, PV design and install. And Kinetic Solar is a proudly Canadian company, owned, operated, and made in Canada. Oh, I apologize. It looks like my slides aren't following along here. Let me catch up. We are an Ontario-based manufacturer, 45 years of manufacturing experience. We manufacture roof mounts for all kinds of roofs, asphalt, metal, tar, ground mounts, fixed and adjustable, as well as carports and custom solutions. So if you're ever looking for a certain racking solution that you just can't seem to find the right product for, do reach out and we'll do what we can to help. Our products are PN stamped for all provinces in Canada. We conform to UL 2703, TIL A40, LTR, AE001 2012, and we've tested for heavy snow regions for 5.4 kPa. Kinetic Solar is largely exempt from the tariffs that are going on down south. We procure most of our materials from Canadian vendors. We're largely unaffected by those tariffs. Billets are sourced in Quebec and extruded in Ontario and Alberta. So we'll start by getting into the pitched roof configurator. You can see that on our homepage, on the right side, there is a button for the system configurator. But before we get into that, let's look at an example of how we might use that, really where it shines. So if we consider the array here, you can see on the right, this is 2 rows of 6 in portrait and a row of 5. Mid and end clamps are pretty easy. I think most people know 4 end clamps per row. Mid clamps are simply number of panels in the row minus 1 times 2. But what about all the rest of it, right? Your rails, joiners, L brackets, mounts, mesh, clips. If you have a lot of different roof arrays, this can be quite a cumbersome task, and this is where the configurator really comes in to help. So you'll start the process by filling in your project name and the country. As soon as you input the country, you're prompted with the city location, and then it pre-fills the climatic data, wind, snow, and rain. So you don't have to worry about finding those numbers for wherever the project might be. Then you'll specify if it's open or rough terrain. So you can see in this example here, open terrain is really where it's quite level, relatively few buildings and trees. Very commonly, if it's adjacent to a lake, that would be considered open terrain, really where the wind can travel right over the land with minimal interference. Rough would be quite the opposite. This includes urban and suburban areas, but of course also heavily treed areas. There is a note here as well. Suburban or urban or wooded terrain that extends upwind from a building that is uninterrupted for at least 1 kilometer or 10 times the building height, whichever is greater. The importance factor, this is one that maybe not as many people are familiar with, but low importance would classify anything where there's no direct hazard to a human being. This might include certain fixtures out in a field, not on top of a residential building, any type of wood shed that's not a dwelling, anything like that. Normal would include your residential buildings and homes. High is where you typically find your public buildings, schools, libraries, hospitals. And then post-disaster would be buildings designated by the municipality to be a gathering place after the event of a disaster, which is often certain buildings you might find in a high importance category. Next, you'll specify the roof slope, the building height, and the roof type, and then your truss connection spacing. And then from the drop-down list, you can select your manufacturer and then the model of panel. If you ever find that the panel you're looking to use is not listed, do reach out and we'd be happy to add it and review that for you. So next you'll be prompted with the layout design. So here you can see we're looking at the first array. You can input the number of rows and the number of columns, and then you can even click where certain panels might be exempt, if it's a chimney or plumbing stack, a roof shape, anything like that. Then you can click the plus button if you have more roof surface arrays to account for. And then you'll be prompted with a screen to input your connection type. So is it a flashing, is it a universal L, is it a Bulldog? And then also specify the 3-inch L bracket, 4-inch L bracket, or 5-inch. Next, you can choose if you'd like the cable raceway, if you're using microinverters or optimizers and would require a mounting kit, or if you have rodent protection, if it's a 6-inch or an 8-inch mesh. And then you can review your entire bill of materials. And in this screen here, you can add spares as needed. And then you can click download to download the bill of materials and the project information report. The report will look something like this, where you can see all of your criteria that you've entered. This can be really great to just file away in your records with your project files. In that same report, you'll see these details here, where you have the array configurations that you have. And if you'll see there's a dash where there's otherwise zeros. That's just to represent that you've clicked and removed one of those panels. And then in the breakdown above here at the top end of the screen, you can see all of your rails, your layout, and then the the rail lengths that go with that. So you can see you have two 138-inch rails, one 256 for the row of 5, and so on. Next, we're going to dive into the components. So here's just a brief look at some of our major components you might be familiar with, some you might not be. We have the new hidden end clamp. This is really a great product for the aesthetic look from the ground level. If you wanted to cut your rails flush with the edge of the panels and use something like a Sola trim or other kind of nice finish right at the edge for your rodent protection, this can really make a really nice, neat finish along the edge of the perimeter of the array. We have our mid and end clamps. In that expanded mid clamp image, you can see that we have our new bonding weave. So this is really robust. It couldn't possibly fall out of the assembly because it's through the bolt, and provides really great bonding to the panel frame. Our clamps accommodate 30 to 46 millimeter panels. We are looking at introducing a new end clamp that is somewhat commonly known in the industry as a Z clamp that you might be familiar with. That is coming soon. All of our clamps can be available in black anodized or mill, depending on if you're using a black module frame, you might want to use black clamps for that. Here you can see our new Bulldog Mount. So this goes straight into the decking here. You can see 4 screws into the decking. If you were going into that truss, it would just be 2 screws. You apply your cover, and then it's just like any other mount you might have used from our other products. Mount your L bracket on top, and then the rail mounts to the L bracket. So here you can see we have 3 options for the Bulldog Mount. We have a single 4-inch screw, 2 2-inch screws if you're into the truss, and then 4 4-inch screws if you're into the decking of the roof. There is a butyl on the underside, and we have a retaining lip that keeps the butyl in place, providing your weatherproof seal. And of course, all hardware is always a 1/2 inch. We have our well-known flashing kit here, 100% watertight flashing. And there is a nice groove in there that you can see on the image on the right. It's kind of like a K. That is where you can apply your sealant before sliding it under the shingle. That sealant will drive any possible moisture that's already under the shingles or manages to get under the shingles upstream from getting toward those connections. So it'll just push those water droplets away from the fasteners. Here you can see we have our 4-screw flashing. This is straight into the decking, so you don't have to sound out and find those trusses. Next, we have our universal L. This is a relatively new product. I'm sure some of you have used it. Again, we have a single 4-inch, 2 screws if you're into the truss, or 4 screws if you're into the decking. This product also has a butyl layer underneath, which as you drive in your screw, which is a custom self-drilling screw for lumber, that will drag that butyl into the hole and plug it tight. Next, we have our articulating L, otherwise known as the Quonset mount. This is a really great product for mounting on difficult roof surfaces, ones that exhibit a change in slope or a curve, such as this, maybe a barn, or even a transitioning from one slope to another slope of the roof with a single row of panels. So what that does is that hinges essentially to find the perfect angle, so you can mount your rail and mount your panel. And here you can see that multi-planed roof surface that I was kind of referencing on that image of the house. So if it just so happened that you could fit more panels on the roof by laying panels over top that change in slope, you can accomplish that with the articulating L. Next, we have our giraffe mount. Mounts to the strapping or the decking. This can send rails vertically up the roof slope. So if you were able to fit, say, more panels onto a roof, if they're in a landscape type orientation, of course, we all know if you're mounting panels in portrait, you're using less rail, so you're saving more money. You can deliver a more cost-effective system to your customer. So what this does is, if you're essentially going with a landscape appearance on the roof, you can still mount your panels in portrait by clamping on the long side, by sending the rail up the slope. What this also does is allows you to jump any metal roof standing seam or trapezoid profile or rib. So if it just so happens that's exactly where you need to mount this, and that appears to be in the way, this is a great product to be able to jump right over that. Here are some images. You can kind of see that jumping over that trapezoid shape there. So there is a 1-inch gap. So if the protrusion on the roof is less than an inch, you can jump it with the Rhino mount. So the Rhino mount is different from the Giraffe in that you can mount an L bracket onto the Rhino mount, and the Rhino can send the rail up the slope, diagonal across the slope, or parallel with the slope. So giving you a lot of options here with the same benefits you get from the Giraffe mount. There is a pre-installed butyl on both of the products, the Rhino and the Giraffe, and we have a retaining lip to prevent the butyl from being displaced from away the fasteners. We have our hanger bolts, very well known in the industry, not so commonly used anymore, but still prevalent, commonly available in a 4-inch and a 5-inch. And we have other hanger bolt lengths available upon request. In the image on the right, you can see we're going straight into the truss. This would be only into trusses or rafters. Now, if you are installing with a hanger bolt on a metal roof, and that truss just so happened to be inside of something like a trapezoid of the metal roof profile, you would want to use a spacer. So we do offer the spacers. You could buy EMT conduit, metal conduit, and cut them. You would just want to make sure that the height of the spacer matches the necessary height as shown in the image. The reason for the spacer is that when you're tightening down that hanger bolt, you don't want it to compress that metal roof profile. That would be damaging the roof surface, but also creating an area where water could pool and collect and possibly enter. Next, we have our standing seam clamp, a very popular product, really quite universal on many types of seams. And then you can see actually we have I don't have an image showing the height there, but on the spec sheet for this product, which I could provide to you or Jeremy could provide, you can see the height and width that this seam clamp can be clamped onto. So here you see a bent L metal flange roof, and this is a very popular product for that. One of the main benefits of this type of clamp for standing seam is that when you tighten your bolt here, and that's a rotating force, you're not actually tightening the bolt end into the metal roof, so you're not going to be stripping away any of the metal roof paint or coating, the finish of the roof, so you're not creating any kind of rust point. What it's doing when you tighten that bolt is actually just pushing those pins in straight, and the pins don't rotate, so then they will just pinch into the roof, creating a tight seal. We have our cable management, like we talked about in the system configurator. Just a really great product to be able to carry and contain all of your RPVUs, even tech cables, bare coppers if you so happen to have in this raceway, available in a number of sizes. And part of the fire rating, which is actually required in the United States, is that through their CSA testing, they test for a fireman's axe falling through an array, and this would be able to protect your conductors. We have the cable tie. So this is nice because it actually extends the life of the zip tie. We all know zip ties are installers' best friends, and this can be pre-installed, and then your wires can run through it, or you could have all your wires run and then do these after, either or. We have our top and side equipment mounts, commonly optimizers, rapid shutdown, microinverters, even junction boxes. Whether or not you're under a panel, as you can see here, this would be able to mount it underneath the panel, or maybe at a rail end if you wanted to mount, say, a junction box. The next thing I want to talk about is the thermal brake. So after you have a continuous run of 50 feet of rail, obviously there's joiners and splices to get to the 50 feet, you do want what's called a thermal break, which is a 1/2 inch gap between the rail. So it would just be through air, no joiner, but you do need to continue the bonding path. So you could use 2 grounding lugs and a 6 gauge of bare copper, or we actually have a bonding rail jumper kit, which is exactly just that. After you lay your panels, you're going to be moving on to the rodent guard. We have this available in a 6-inch and an 8-inch mesh, as well as a 48-inch mesh. The 48-inch is very commonly used for the ground mount racks. So one thing we always try to allow for on our ground mount racks is easy mounting of the mesh. So on our bifacial rail, the round rail for the ground mounts, there's a channel on the underside of the rail where you can actually have a stud nut to mount the mesh. And I do have a slide for that coming up later where we can see that in more detail. So we have the rodent guard clips. You might be familiar with these, the typical J-hook, as well as we have our other clips. But we're very happy to introduce our new universal rodent guard clip. So we've received a lot of requests from this from our customers, and there's been a need for this kind of product as certain new solar panels no longer have a lip on the bottom end frame of the panel. So this will work with even just 1 millimeter of return on the frame of the panel. So you shouldn't be running into any issues mounting your mesh on panel frames any longer. We also have the 4-inch square concrete and post mount. This does not have a butyl underneath, so it's not commonly used on the roof surface, but you could use it to mount to concrete, just a wood deck, anything of the sort, and then this would just mount your L bracket. Next, let's talk about conventional mounting and shared rail mounting. So shared rail mounting is typically more geared toward your more seasoned, experienced installers, as it does require a high level of precision when you're mounting your L brackets and rails. There's less room, less forgiveness in terms of the clamp locations for the modules. But we do have a shared rail datum component that can be used to help make that process easier. And you can see there are benefits. So you're using, in this example, about 30% less rail, 30% fewer mounts. So there are significant cost and time savings on the roof to doing shared rail, so long as it's not taking you more time on the roof to get it right. So going to site with a layout can really be beneficial. Here you can see on the shared rail, we are pointing out the end clamps. So you can see we have end clamps on the side where the rail is supporting immediately below the panel frame, and mid clamps elsewhere throughout. So conventional mounting of the top and bottom rails. Conventional mounting on the top and bottom of the rails of the array gives added flexibility in positioning. Like we talked about, shared rail has that high level of precision, whereas conventional rail is a bit more forgiving. And oftentimes, that's all you need to just slap in all those connections and mounts very quickly. Some forgiveness is always helpful. Here's an image of the datum in the bottom left. This can be used while you're installing your shared rail system to just help guide exactly where that rail needs to be. And when you're mounting your panels, that they'll mount up perfectly straight. Of course, with the shared rail system, you don't want to use the articulating L mount because of that articulation. It can make it quite difficult to get that level of precision that you require. Moving on to the ground mounts, we have our fixed, as you can see on the left, fixed tilt, and on the right, we have our seasonally adjustable ground mount. On the fixed static ground mount, we have a portrait and a landscape option. Here you can see this is our portrait orientation, and we have some callouts on the image on the left. That's a datum hole for your portrait, and then you can see the datum holes for the landscape, and that'll just help guide exactly where those rails need to be placed onto the girder. The static ground mount is suitable for all PV modules up to 2450 by 1160. The round rail profile creates a minimum shadow for the backside of bifacial modules, so you're getting more angle of incidence from the albedo off the ground. And it's engineered for Q50, 50-year storm event, wind loads up to 1.0 kPa, which covers all, if not most if not all of Canada, and snow loads of 2.5 kPa and rain loads up to 0.8. So there's not many places in Canada where this could be exceeded, so it's pretty widely applicable. This design has been optimized to have minimum weight. Of course, that's great during installation, but also, of course, during shipping and transit to keep costs low. The frame itself is steel, hot dip galvanized steel, and then the rails are aluminum, so everything is corrosion resistant. And we use our standard end clamps and mid clamps and hardware. So it's still 1/2-inch drive, just one tool for the install. And it's fixed at a 40-degree tilt, covered by a 25-year Kinetic solar warranty. So here we can see another closer up image of the portrait rack. We have a call out here showing a zoom in close view of the girder to rail connection. And we have a U bracket or U-bolt, U-clamp kind of assembly where the U will actually go underneath the girder and then using a long Kinetic nut into the bottom channel of that rail to mount it secure. The ground mount rack is available in multiples of 2 from 6 to 32, providing a lot of options to just get your exact system size, string configuration, everything you need. For example, if you found you needed 10 panels per string, you could of course just use the 10, 20, 30 panel rack to not be able to jump strings between racks. We also have our landscape. So here you can see we have 5 rails going across the rack instead of 4. And then we have our the ridge rail. So what this ridge rail does is it essentially clips into the top of the bifacial rail and provides a mounting datum so that you can very easily mount and clamp your panels of various widths. So the landscape rack is recommended for panels less than 2300 by 1060, but we can accommodate larger panels with a custom order. And then the engineering is the same 1.0, 2.5, 0.8 for wind, snow, and rain loads. And the landscape rack can mount 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, or 32 panels. So here's a close-up of our bifacial rail. You can see we have a channel on the top and the bottom. The rail is a maximum span of 125 inches between supports and up to a 52-inch cantilever beyond the ends of the rack. Here is a close-up of the foot. You can see we have our elongated slots on the actual base plate. And then we also have these different holes here on the flange bracket so that you can really, no matter where your helical pile is installed, sometimes there's some variance after they're put into the ground, be it for hitting rocks or otherwise. You have a lot of variability here, so you shouldn't run into any issues getting the foot onto the helical pile. We have our end caps for the bifacial ground mount rails. We 3D print these here on site, and they've been tested for all types of temperature ranges and conditions, and they will keep out large birds and any kind of things from nesting inside. But we do have a little hole there that you can see, but I've been told that we do need more bees. So if bees do decide to make a hive inside, we can know that that's helping the environment. So the bifacial rail stud nut. So this is what I was referring to earlier when we talked about the mesh. So on the bottom side of the rail, you have that channel, and we can install a stud nut, which essentially mounts the mesh onto the back of the array, covering up your panel's whips and other wires. Now let's talk about the seasonally adjustable ground mount rack. You can see an image here at each of the 3 tilts. So we have a 20, 45, and 60-degree option on the rack itself, allowing the user to change the tilt to match the season. It's very common for off-grid applications, of course, where you're trying to get every ounce of sun through the winter. You can go up to a 60-degree slope, and 60 degrees is the recommended slope where snow begins to easily shed off the panels, requiring minimal clearing. Of course, even a vertical panel can have snow and ice buildup if there's just the right or wrong conditions for sleet and wet snow in very cold climates. But as soon as that panel is exposed to sun, even if just a corner of that panel is showing, that'll start to melt, and the surface between the panel and the ice will become very slick, and at 60 degrees it will slide off. Now, I did want to take some time to talk about the toppers. I've received a lot of inquiries about whether or not certain panels and certain panel dimensions will fit onto the rack. 2278 by 1024 is suitable, but may not achieve a green zone clamp on the panel frame, according to the solar panel manufacturer. We have a lot of installers that do continue to use this despite not maybe achieving the green zone clamping, and those have been in the field for years, and there haven't been any issues. You can do a 2278 by 1030 if you're using a toe clamp instead of a regular end clamp, and then you can use an 1134 wide panel if you're using a topper kit. So here below in the center of the screen, you can see the topper rail, and the topper rail essentially is an aluminum extrusion of the groundhog rail that just sits exactly on top of the steel hat rail, allowing you to mount your wider panels. The reason for this is that without the topper kit, there are holes on the top of the hat rail, pre-punched holes where you can mount your clamps. But of course, if you have a wider solar panel, the width of the solar panel doesn't line up with those pre-punched holes. So the topper rail provides a full range where you could clamp your module down to the rail. So I did want to mention, if you see on the bottom left, the image of the 6, 8, 12, 14, and 16 panel rack, all of these only have 1 or 2 articulating tables. So the topper kit can be used on any of these racks, but not the larger racks where you have 3 or more articulating tables. The reason for this is that the groundhog rail, because of the wider solar panels, the 1134 wide solar panels, will actually extend into the next frame if there was another frame there. So we're essentially hanging over the edge of the hat rail. So just know if you're using a topper rail, you only want to use it on a rack with 2 articulating tables or less. The topper kit, of course, allows for mounting of an 1134 wide solar panel. It can be used on the 6, 8, 12, 14, or 16 panel rack. And on our price list, you'll see that it's available in a 6-panel topper kit or the 8-panel topper kit. Now, again, referencing the image in the bottom left, you'll see the 6-panel rack is, of course, 6 panels, so you'd use a 6-panel topper kit. But if we look at something like the 14-panel rack, you see we have an articulating table of 6 and an articulating table of 8. So essentially, you would need 1 of each topper kit if you're using a 14-panel rack. We, of course, have our top pole mounts, very common for off-grid, really great at mounting into difficult terrain, like if you're just mounting to bedrock or a side of a hill or something like that. Really great application. You can tilt this flat and all the way vertical up to 90 degrees. And we have our modular carports. So these are really great products. This is actually a photo from York University. So the gaps underneath the carport allow for 2 parking spaces, and the rack itself goes up to many, many spaces, up to 20 spaces. So if you had any carport project that required something a bit more unique, we're always happy to help out with our custom solution options. So the rack is 90-inch clearance, allowing for most all regular vehicles, not necessarily box trailers or trucks. And there's an 18-foot gap, so each parking space being 9 feet. And that's all I have for you today. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to help. And you have our contact information. And again, my name is Matthew. If you have any questions, feel free to email me anytime.
Thanks a lot, Matthew. I have one question. I think you might have touched upon it, but if you could clarify, we have Adam asking, is the standing seam clamp compatible with all sizes of standing seam roofs?
That is a great question. Unfortunately not. There's so much variance when it comes into standing seams. I would guess many dozens of types of profiles. But on the spec sheet, which I can provide to you, Jeremy, if you wanted to share it to Adam, you'll see the specific dimensions that we have allowed underneath the standing seam clamp. And really, as long as that'll fit over, you can then tighten it up.
Fantastic. Yeah, we have that spec. So Adam, feel free to reach out to your outside rep and they can pass it on to you as well. I have another question from Garth. I'm working on a project that will have 42 modules, 21 panels, double stacked. I plan on using the Kinetic articulating ground mount system. Do you have racking that will handle that?
Great question. So for 42 panels, if it's a panel width of up to 1024, you could use the 42 panel. Oh, actually, I think it only goes up to 32, if I'm not mistaken. Let's just pop back up there for a second.
No worries.
Yes, so it is in fact 32. So the largest rack that we have on the static is 32. If you're looking at the articulating, oh, I haven't listed all of the maximum size here. Let me just confirm that with you.
I'm thinking probably the max is 16 for 2 tables. Yeah.
If you are using an 1134, it would be a 16,
Yeah.
or any combination of 6, 8, 12, 14, 16. If you are using a 1024 or 1034, you could use the 42 panel rack.
Okay, yeah, he's noting he's going with the 1134. I think there's probably not too much of the smaller stuff kicking around out there now. I think most of it's 1134.
All the new products, yes, seem to be that way.
Yeah. Okay. Another question for you. Somebody noted in your picture of the Bulldog Mount, for lack of a better term, it looked like it was being installed in landscape. Is that the proper orientation for those, or do they need to be one way or another?
I'm really glad you asked that. The Bulldog Mount can be installed in either orientation.
Okay, fantastic. And another question. Are the spans the same when you're installing a shared rail, or do you need to beef up the footings and go less than the typical 48-inch span?
I see what you mean. So the spans will actually be the same. But yes, you're right. There would be technically more force exerted as there are fewer connections. If you ever have any doubts, if you're dealing with a property on the top of a hill adjacent to a lake, a very steep slope, or you have really excessive wind or snow, you can always reach out to us and we'll take a look at it. But you could always go with, say, a 24-inch on-center connection.
Fantastic. I think that's all the questions for now. Of course, everybody, if anything else comes up, after you've kind of stepped away from the webinar, don't hesitate to reach back to us or to reach out to your outside rep, and we'll find an answer for you. So I just wanted to say again, the presentation has been recorded and it will be available on our YouTube channel and in our next monthly newsletter. Also want to note, if you've not already been signed up for the web shop, the BayWa web portal, please do so. It's a fantastic resource. You can find specs, pricing, inventory levels, install manuals of all your Kinetic product and all our other product on the web portal. You can also view your orders and invoices there as well. And actually recently the web shop has been refreshed by our awesome BayWa regional team. They've been working hard to implement some changes to make your web shop experience more efficient. So be sure to check it out if you haven't. And finally, I just want to thank Kinetic and Matthew. They are such a great partner of ours. I mean, I may sound biased because I work for BayWa, but I used to install, and I really believe that Kinetic is the best, fastest flush mount racking system in the market. They're a great group of people, always willing to answer questions for us, always working to find a solution. So thank you so much, Matthew, for being here. Thank you for being a partner with us. As mentioned before, any other questions that might come up, let your people reach out to your outside sales reps, and we can guide the process from there. There is one more question here. They missed the last few minutes or first few minutes. Was there a new hidden end clamp style shown? Yes, there is, Kyle. We don't have the new hidden end clamp in Edmonton yet, but you can reach out to your rep and they can pass on the spec to you and you can carry on. Matthew, unless there's anything else, I think we should carry on here and hopefully watch the Oilers win tomorrow.
Fantastic. Yes, thank you so much. And I want to thank everyone for attending, and feel free to reach out anytime. Thank you.
Okay, bye for now, everybody. Thanks for joining.